So basically, I was recently asked, like, what kind of proof do I have that XRP and crypto, Luna Classic, Shiba, whatever, I have a limit order set for Bitcoin just in case if Bitcoin ever has a flash crash. Yeah, so I just recently added silver to my portfolio, already up $300. Anyways, yeah, so they asked, like, what kind of proof do I have? All right, so I'm gonna go over that right now. First of all, there's no proof. Like, don't invest more money than you could afford to lose. So if you could afford to lose $100, then invest $100. Don't invest $100, expect to win, and as soon as there's a 5% dip, you sell, because if you sell, you lose. So everything is investment. So invest at your own risk. And I had $1,000 to share, to invest in. So I invested at least $1,000. So that's just me personally. I could afford to lose 1,000 if I need to, but nothing's guaranteed. So there's no proof, but there's something that I want to go over with you really fast. So, all right, I can mention these things because for years I talked about the new financial system in XRP. So I'm going to talk about some things that have been going on in the news that's proof that, gold and silver, specifically silver, and then some cryptos. Only certain cryptos are going to make it. So here is some news that's been going on recently. All right, so America is facing threats of inflation and bank failures. So 3 U.S. congressmen introduced a bill to repeg the dollar to a fixed weight of gold bullion. So they repeg it back to, the dollar back to gold, or like a crypto to gold and silver. Then, I could foresee gold and silver going back up. So that's just one example. All right, so President Richard Nixon temporarily suspended gold backing of America's monetary system in 1971, which caused harm to American families, businesses, and the U.S. economy from the Federal Reserve reckless spending. So, yeah. Prices would be shaped by economics rather than irresponsible spending from the government. So if they back the dollar to gold again, then the prices would be shaped by economics and not irresponsible spending from the government. China and Brazil recently made a deal to ditch the US dollar in favor of their own currencies in trade sanctions. So the dollar is weakening, the dollar is falling. That's why people are running to crypto, gold, and silver. That's another reason why it's going to be a good investment. Gold and silver have been surging as the dollar weakens. People are also running to crypto as well. China and India recently have traded in their own currencies, which is further challenging the dollar. At the same time, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are creating a currency to trade amongst themselves. This will, of course, weaken U.S. dominance. India also pushes to trade in the rupee. So all these other countries are trying to trade in their own currencies or create their own currencies to trade amongst themselves and to get away from the dependence on the dollar. All right, so in the 1920s, the dollar begins to replace the sterling pound as an international reserve currency after the First World War. Interestingly enough, about 100 years later, there's a war in Ukraine, now in the 2020s. Now the dollar is losing its dominance. So after the First World War, the dollar came to dominance, and now there's a war in Ukraine and it's losing its dominance. That's interesting. In 2022, central banks buys gold at the fastest rate since 1967. So the central banks are buying gold. So they know that something's up. As countries diversify their reserves away from the dollar. In 2023, Brazil and Argentina discussed the creation of a currency. So other currencies are being created right now. The UAE and India explore use of rupees to trade non-oil commodities. All right, so the Fed now is also launching in July 2023. So businesses and individuals will be able to send and receive instant payments at any time of